Hey guys, Evan from SciFreaKs here. Sorry this video is getting put up a little late tonight. It's just because I actually recorded this today, and not beforehand as the other ones were. So, today I decided to make my last day of Avengers week kind of a big one, but not as big as originally planned. Originally, I was going to do a trailer for our Avengers show, but unfortunately, time just didn't permit that. However, today is going to be almost as awesome. I'm actually going to talk about two things. I'm going to review the soundtrack for Avengers Infinity War and give you my predictions. Now I'm going to tell you, this is spoiler free, sort of. I haven't seen the movie yet, so no spoilers in the comments, but this is my predictions for the movie. I'm actually seeing it next weekend, so I'm actually going to have some time to avoid spoilers. So I thought I'd while I'm waiting, give out my predictions as to what they're going to do. I also want to tell you that I'm not editing this video. It's just pure audio, which means there might be some pauses, some weird pausing in the middle. If I pause the actual recording and then start it again, you might hear some background sounds more than usual. So I apologize for that. But without further ado, now that we're like a minute and a half into the video, I'd like to actually start my review. So, the first thing I wanted to review is the actual soundtrack. So I haven't had a chance to listen 100% all the way through every track, but I have, I bought it and it's currently downloading on my computer, which keeps crashing, but I am getting it slowly. Now, I will say that some of the tracks might be spoilers. I don't know. A lot of people think that that's a huge deal or that it'll give you huge spoilers. I've never found Marvel films to have giant spoilers in the soundtracks. Usually the soundtracks are taken from lines or from things we already know about the movie, if they are spoilers, like things we knew from the trailers. So I don't think it's a huge deal. But I'm not going to give you guys the names of the tracks just because. But I will tell you, track 21 is called Catch. And I just want to say it's funny because it's Catch 21, which is a clothing store, but it's also a joke on Catch 22. So I don't know if that's an official reference. I just thought that was really funny. Now, I also wanted to say that the soundtrack's a little different. First of all, I want to say the very first track is what I imagine to be the titles, where it says The Avengers Infinity War, whatever, and it's pretty heroic and cool sounding, and it looks like it's going to be the very beginning of the movie, probably right after the Marvel fanfare. Now, one of my biggest disappointments, sorry for that, one of my biggest disappointments is that there is no special Marvel fanfare that I know of in the movie. I haven't been able to find it. Maybe that thing, The Avengers, is part of it. I don't know, but I don't think so. I always like when they have specialized fanfares, like they did that for Ultron. They did it for Ant-Man, except it wasn't written for that. It was separate. They did it for Spider-Man Homecoming, which I absolutely love that, as it was an original version of the Spider-Man theme done orchestrally, which I thought was absolutely beautiful and perfect. But I haven't been able to locate anything special on the Avengers Infinity War soundtrack, which is making me think it has the standard fanfare that we saw with Doctor Strange. I believe that was the first movie to show it. We saw with Guardians Volume 2 and Black Panther and that, which is fine. It's an amazing piece of music. I was just hoping for something special and unique, but that's fine. I will say the end credits theme, the music, to me sounds really dark and kind of brooding. Usually you get these really kind of fast-paced, upbeat kind of end credits. Like a good example, Captain America Civil War has this really amazing, upbeat kind of end credits thing, and a lot of the end credits in SciFreaKs are based off of Marvel credits because they've inspired so much to SciFreaKs, because they're just amazing pieces of music. But for the end credits of Infinity War, now I could be wrong, but usually there's like a specialized kind of credit sequence that's done in like clever stuff, and I think they'll do that, but I think it might be a different song, and it probably won't be as upbeat. At least based on what I've found, a lot of the ending tracks are really kind of dark sounding, which is going to feed into my first idea, is that Thanos will get all the stones and possibly succeed. Now, I don't just mean succeed in getting the stones. I mean succeed in destroying half the universe or whatever he thinks he's going to do. He's going to start something in motion that's going to rewrite the universe or whatever, and I don't know. So I think that the music kind of fits, like, oh, the Avengers lost. So it's dark and sad. It's not as upbeat as all other Marvel films were, which lead into this. They're all upbeat because they're leading into this movie. Now, I wanted to tell you, I haven't gotten any spoilers yet for the movie, so hopefully my predictions are right. But this is all based off of trailers, fan theories I've heard before, or just things that I've kind of made connections to. So my first, well, besides Thanos, my first idea for the movie was the Soul Stone. So there are a lot of theories out there connected to the Soul Stone. But mine is kind of oddly unique. I mean, there have been several. So first of all, I want to say that, you know, there's been the theory of Heimdall, because he has, his eyes glow orange, he sees souls, and he has like an orange stone-looking thing in his chest. I personally don't think that's true. I think that would be way too obvious. I think it's something a little more hidden, but connected, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to say that I do think it is connected to H. I think, because there was a recent interview with the directors, the Russo brothers, where they said that's preposterous that it could possibly be connected to there. Well, I actually think that they were saying that to be funny, and I apologize for the helicopter going over, but I do think there is a specific reason for that. So you have, my personal thought is that it's connected to a planet. Now, here are several theories that I've heard. That orange planet we've seen, now this might be confirmed, but I don't think so. That orange planet we see like at the beginning of the first trailer, like the first full trailer, not the SDCC trailer, and then we see different shots of them on this orange planet. People keep saying that's Titan. Now, I don't think that's Titan. I think Titan is completely destroyed, almost like the Death Star came in and destroyed it. Now, obviously, that's not what happened, but something cataclysmic happened, and we know, based on what the directors have said and actors have said, that Thanos has had this really kind of dark past and this dark history, and, you know, he's lost his family and things like that. So I think this is kind of why I don't think that's Titan. But I do think that it is a planet starting with the letter H and is the Infinity Stone. I think that the planet itself is the Infinity Stone, and here's why: the Soul Stone. In the comics, now I know they're deviating from the comics, but in the comics, the Soul Stone is almost like its own dimension inside. I believe all the stones are like this, but the Soul Stone more so. You can trap souls in it, and it's like a kind of a paradise planet, kind of world inside the stone that souls get trapped, and they're like happy beyond, you know, compare. Now, I don't think the happiness will be there, but I do think that planet might be the Soul Stone, and he who wields the Soul Stone sends them to that planet. I also think that planet is going to have some sort of keeper. I don't know who it would be. Probably some character we haven't seen yet, or a Celestial. It would be cool if they introduced a Celestial as this. But basically the idea is that maybe this planet has like a keeper or a wielder, and the keeper is the one who is attacked by Thanos, and that drags a thing in. Now, going to Thanos, I think the biggest thing that's going to happen is we've heard over and over that this movie is following Thanos. It's an Avengers movie following Thanos. We see more about him, we see him go around and collect the stones, and this is how I think it's going to play out. He is going to attack the Asgardians first. Now, if you haven't seen the end of Thor Ragnarok, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but just this quick thing, Thanos does show up at the end, kind of connected to our characters. So I think that's going to lead into Infinity War, and we're going to see Thanos attack the Asgardians first, get the Tesseract from Loki, and my theory, like everybody else's, is that he's going to kill Loki right then and there, and that's the end of Loki for the rest of the movies. There have been reports of him showing up on the set of Avengers 4, but even though they technically wrapped production on Infinity War, and then started Avengers 4 a couple weeks later. That doesn't mean they weren't doing some slight secret reshoots for Infinity War just to trick us, you know? This filming thing, they definitely are trying to get us to theorize certain things. So I think that could be wrong. Like, we see Captain America there. I think he could die. That's a possibility. I don't think he will. I personally don't think he will. Just because the main reason is because everybody else is suggesting that he will. But I'm still kind of looking at the idea that Loki is going to die, and he'll be the first of many deaths. I actually have a bunch of theories on deaths, but I'll get into that in a minute. But after Thor kills Loki and gets the Tesseract, he puts it in the gauntlet, and if you look, he's already had the Purple Stone, so I don't think the film is going to open with him attacking the Asgardians. So Thor Ragnarok kind of feeds into that, but we're actually going to see what happens right before Thor Ragnarok. I bet you the first stone he's going to go after is the Power Stone. I believe the Power Stone is still with the Nova Corps at this time, so he's going to attack the Nova Corps. Now, if you remember in Guardians Volume 2, another minor spoiler, when Ego started spreading to the different worlds, we see this kind of big blue goo on Nova Corps. It's my theory that kind of destroys part of the city, including the vault where the stone is, and the stone is a little more vulnerable, and that's when Thanos goes and gets it. And then, so I think that's how the movie's going to open, is him going to the Nova Corps. Then he's going to go and attack the Asgardian ship. And as the Asgardian's ship is in ruins, his ship is going to go off and warp away. And that's where Thor's going to be left floating, sort of. Somewhere around there. And then I think the Guardians are going to come in and happen to stumble across it, see them, and then find out that Thanos is going after the stones. They kind of talk. You know, Thor and the Guardians kind of talk together. You know, we know Thor's going to be with the Guardians a lot. And then they go to the Collector. I think that's Thanos' next step, is to get the stone from the Collector. Which happens to be the Reality Stone. Now, it could be reversed. The biggest reason I think that it's this order is based on events that I know in the trailers and who's with whom. We already know Thor is with the Guardians at some point, but we don't know when he hooks up with them. A lot of people saw, you know, there's a lot of footage of the Guardians of the Galaxy at the Collector's place with Thanos torturing the Collector, and we see some of the Guardians going through, but we never see Thor. But my theory is they go with Thor there, and Thor's like at the ship, or he's flying around trying to fight off some of the Outrider ships or whatever. Because I think Thanos is carrying this kind of big posse with him as he himself goes on to nowhere and finds the Collector, and then gets the Reality Stone there, and I believe he's going to try to kill off the Collector. Now, my theory is because the Collector in the comics is an Elder of the Universe, which the Elders of the Universe, their planets were destroyed a long time ago, and so I think they're going to do something similar. Well, after that, then the Elders of the Universe become very, very powerful cosmic beings for whatever reason. And so I think they might do something slightly similar, where the Grandmaster and the Collector are brothers, we know that, but I also think that they are going to be connected to some sort of cosmic force. So Thanos is going to try to kill him, and he'll seem dead, and then Thanos leaves, and then the Guardians go and talk to him. He's like, I'll be fine. Just go and follow him. You gotta stop him. He's gonna wreak havoc in that, and then there'll be some sort of funny comment, maybe from Rocket or something like, man, you're weak, or something like that. I don't know. And then they'll leave there, follow Thanos to Earth, where the last 3 stones are held. So if you remember correctly, the 3 stones that are remaining on Earth, well, actually, 2 stones, sorry. The Soul Stone isn't on Earth. That's my bad. 2 stones. I had the number 2 in my head, and then I just said 3 for whatever reason. But anyways, I think the Space Stone, or not the Space Stone, the Mind Stone, sorry. That's in Vision's forehead, and we know Vision is on Earth. And the Time Stone, which is in the hands of Doctor Strange. Now, I think the biggest thing that we have to keep in mind is that those two stones are the only Earth-based ones, which means Thanos will have had to get the other stones. Now, here's my theory. So this is a huge theory. So before Thanos reaches Earth, he stops off at the H-named planet, whatever. I'd like to think that it has some sort of connection to the comics, like Hallex or something like that, some sort of neat name reference or something like that, just so it's kind of tying together. It just feels right. But Thanos is going to go to that planet, the Soul Stone planet, kill the Keeper, which I think will be the second official death in the movie. But I think one of the characters is going to already know that that was the Soul Stone. Whether it's a Guardian of the Galaxy, someone from the Nova Corps, or even the Collector or somebody like that knew it, and whoever's with them is like, oh man, I was hoping he wouldn't figure that out, or something like that, you know? And so we'll see that this planet get taken by Thanos, and I think the planet will still exist inside the stone. Like it's almost like a thing where like he holds up the gauntlet with the stone, and the stone kind of sucks the planet into the gauntlet, or like the almost like liquid, where like the entire planet turns into like vapor energy and then goes right into the gauntlet where the stone is, and that'll be the next stone. So Thanos will have at this point 4 out of the 5 stones, or 4 out of 6 stones, sorry. Which means he has to go to Earth. Now, by this point, we do know that in some of the shots on Earth, he only has the space and power stones, which is why I think that maybe the events of the Collector and that might be tied to a separate point in the movie. Now, I think this is still the order of events. This could be CGI trickery. We know that it's really easy for them to do. The stones themselves are just a separate CGI layer on the gauntlet. None of them are actually physical objects, save for a couple shots. So they can pretty much just turn off that layer and then put it in the trailer. And there you go. You have missing stones. So I think that's going to kind of happen with Thanos' kind of idea. Like I think that's kind of where they're going to go, is like he already has these stones. Or Thanos gets the stones but doesn't put them in the gauntlet yet. He saves them just in case he accidentally loses to the Avengers for whatever reason. I mean, we know he's overconfident, but he's very smart about what he does. Maybe he has stones. Like, we know that even though he gave Loki the Mind Stone, he knew that the Tesseract was on Earth, and that's why Loki needed to go there and get it. So he was more confident that Loki was going to get it, and got it. So I think, you know, even though he has confidence, he is preparing for the worst. And that's why I think Thanos maybe knows about the Soul Stone and knew about it most of his life, but purposely didn't get it until later because he knew, and maybe he's keeping it secret. Maybe the Soul Stone will be afterwards, because we do know there is the Avengers fight on that planet, and we do know there are shots of the inside of Thanos' ship that we have Spidey, Iron Man, I think Star-Lord is there. So we have all these characters on the ship, and I think that'll be them going to the Soul Stone. So I actually think that the Soul Stone is not the next stone. That's why I don't think the Soul Stone is before Earth. I think it's after Earth. I think the Avengers are going to get dragged into this problem first. So he's going to go after and catch the stones. Now, in none of the media, save for like the teaser video where Thanos had the full gauntlet, we don't see the gauntlet with the green stone at all, the Time Stone. Now, it could be, there could be CGI trickery, could be angles, we never know. But I don't think he gets the Time Stone right away. But then he defeats the Avengers on the H-named planet, that's the Soul Stone, takes the last couple stones, and then powers up the Soul Stone, destroying the planet, and defeating the Avengers. The Avengers are kind of caught in this kind of destruction of the planet. They kind of leave. I think maybe a specific character or a couple of characters are going to die. I have a theory that Star-Lord could be one of the ones that die. There's also the chance that whoever's on that planet, because we see some shots on that planet of Stark being upset. I think they could kill off a second character, or Thanos could be messing with their heads and making them just see horrible things. We don't know, and they could be going insane. But whoever survives gets off the planet. And then they have a final showdown on Earth as Thanos tries to get the Mind Stone. I think Thanos is going to miss the Mind Stone. So what I believe is going to happen is Vision is on Earth, and we have Cap and all that trying to protect Vision as the Black Order attack them. The Black Order is actually sent to Earth, not Thanos himself. We actually don't see any shots in the trailers of Thanos on Earth. So I don't think Thanos himself is going to Earth. I think he's sending the Black Order while he gets the other stones. But they fail getting the Time Stone, but succeed in getting the Mind Stone. But Strange runs away with the Time Stone with the other Avengers to reach the H planet to fight Thanos. But while they're fighting Thanos there's the fight at Wakanda. And then I think they've been hiding it. I think after that, I don't think those are the final battles. I think after that, there's going to be one final battle, one huge battle where all the Avengers are back together. All these little pocket teams have finally reunited, and they're all fighting Thanos, and Thanos successfully has the full gauntlet, and he's fighting them off, maybe kills a couple characters. Yeah, I said a couple. I don't think they're just going to go with one death. I think they're going to start knocking people off pretty quickly here. I think Thor might be one of them. I honestly don't know. I think they could kill off Mantis. They might kill off Drax, though those two kind of have a relationship. I'm pretty sure they're going to kill off Vision, sort of. And then maybe they'll remake Vision or something like that, because he is a machine. So they might be able to figure out how to remake him in the future. I don't know. Shuri's intelligent. We know she scans him, so she might be able to protect him. Or maybe they swap out the stones. In the comics, Vision doesn't have an Infinity Stone in his forehead. Rather, he actually has a thing called a Sunstone, which is it's a very powerful energy source. My thought is that they could maybe switch out a Sunstone for that, and then Vision's back alive, but we think he's dead for a bit. I know Thanos will probably lose his Black Order and become rageful. I don't... That's another theory. Looking at shots of the Black Order and scenes that I've seen, because they release small scenes here and there, the Black Order look like they are really bad CGI. Now, this could be in early stages, but I don't think I'm going to be too happy with the Black Order. Now, unfortunately, I won't know until I see the movie, but I really think they're going to kill out the Black Order. But I also think they're going to kill off some characters and bring them back in Avengers 4, just to kill them off again or do something. I don't know what they're going to do with Avengers 4. I actually have to wait for Infinity War to finish. I have to watch the movie, let that sink in, and then wait for Avengers 4 title and trailers. Once we get those, I'll be able to safely come up with another video like this of my thoughts of Avengers 4, which is rumored to be Avengers Disassembled, which brings me to my next theory. I think at the very end, the Avengers will be secluded from each other. Maybe they'll be in this cosmic prison that Thanos creates, or maybe they're in the Soul Stone itself, and they're in this prison thing, and they can't see each other, and they're all kind of bound and gagged or whatever, and it's high maximum security. These Avengers are not getting out. Save for maybe a couple smaller Avengers, maybe Spidey finds his way out of it. I mean, in the comics, Spider-Man tends to avoid this kind of thing very much. And he, when the Grandmaster and the Collector were playing the game where they collected all the Avengers, the Contest of Champions, they collected all the Avengers, Spidey was the only one who wasn't collected. He avoided it. They liked that and then sent him down. So because of that, I think Spidey might actually kind of follow that pattern where he doesn't get trapped with the other Avengers. He actually becomes a kind of not a catalyst, but he's the last hero remaining, and maybe a couple characters like Mantis, smaller characters that you don't think of as really particularly... I mean, Spidey's a strong character, but other characters aren't particularly high up on the strong field, and not a lot of them are the most powerful. You have Thor and Iron Man, who are the main main heroes. I don't think they're going to be the main ones that get out of this. I think we're going to see Spider-Man, maybe Mantis, some characters like that. Not lesser characters, because they're still amazing characters, but characters that don't usually have as big a role will now be brought to the forefront and have to save the Avengers in Avengers 4. I think, other characters that are a possibility, we might even see Korg. I think they might bring Korg up, and I think Korg will, we know there's a possibility there's a Korg and Meek story. Now, it could be an origin story, but I think they're going to stay alive. And it would just be awesome if they had Korg in there, even briefly, but he could be one of the Avengers, like he becomes an Avenger that helps liberate the other ones. There are other characters like, let's see, I was thinking like Falcon or War Machine could be ones. Now, I actually think when Tony's crying, it is my theory that they kill off War Machine. The reason being is they almost did it in Civil War, and that was kind of iffy, but I think that was kind of setting up the fact that Stark is we see how worried Stark was there, and then we see we see Stark actually lose his friend and go ballistic, or for whatever reason. So I think that's another death that's possible. I don't think Black Panther's gonna die. I don't think Doctor Strange is gonna die. Or if they do, it gets undone by the Time Stone like they did with Wong in Doctor Strange. Wong might be one of the Avengers that helps liberate the others. Like, I think Strange will probably get captured and same with Black Panther, but I think maybe Wong, Spidey, Mantis, maybe Korg or a character like that, depending on if he's in the movie, could happen. Now, speaking of characters, Marvel's always big on characters, and one thing we know that Kevin Feige has said is there have been, like, after credit scenes and loose ends at the end of Marvel movies, and he said that all of those loose ends will be tied up by Avengers 4. He said a lot of them will be tied up in Infinity War and the rest in Avengers 4. And I am actually taking that to heart because I think one of the biggest things in the movies that we've seen is that Red Skull disappears. We don't know if he's dead or not. He just disappears. So that's one of them. Malekith kind of gets destroyed by an Infinity Stone, and so does Ronan. Ronan the Accuser and Guardians. And then we have characters like Ultron, who was born of a stone, which makes him almost cosmic. So my theory is those four characters at the very least are going to come back. Especially Red Skull and Ultron, because they're fan favorites and we've been clamoring for them for years. Now we know Hugo Weaving said he's not in it. So I don't know if they would recast Red Skull, do CGI, or just simply have him there, like say hello or something like that, and then Thanos kills him immediately for whatever reason. Maybe he's connected to the Soul Stone. I don't know. I doubt it. He probably wouldn't be connected to the Soul Stone because he's not that powerful. Now, he does get transported by the Infinity Stones, and the reason I say these four characters is they're all tied to Infinity Stones. Ultron was effectively created through the Mind Stone. So was Vision. So it's my thought that there's sort of a cosmic sentience in him. So even if he's destroyed right now, his existence is still there. There's a cosmic form there. And then with Malekith and Ronan, we see them get kind of destroyed by an Infinity Stone, but that doesn't mean they were destroyed. It just means their physical forms were destroyed. Maybe their minds or new forms are created in the cosmic worlds or whatever, and we start seeing these new cosmic versions of them, and they're more powerful than ever, and they become a threat, maybe in Avengers 4, or maybe they'll start becoming a threat. Like, I think they might team up with the Avengers, like including Red Skull, Ultron, and all these characters will team up with the Avengers and in Infinity War, and then become one of the main threats in Avengers 4. Something like that. I don't know. But I definitely think that they'll bring back Ultron at the very least, maybe Red Skull, and then the other two are kind of iffy. Currently on the Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki. Now, this is a couple weeks ago because I actually purposely haven't gone on it since Infinity War's premiere because I don't want spoilers. So, recently, Red Skull's status is unknown, but Ronan and Malekith are considered deceased, and so is Ultron is destroyed. So that destroyed could mean that his physical form was destroyed, but the existence of Ultron still lives on. So I think they'll probably tie that up, but I think they'll cut it off I don't know if Ultron... The thing about Ultron is we know James Spader's probably not going to come back as Ultron, at least right now. So I'm not... That's a hard thing. I also think Ego could come back. He is a Celestial, and in the comics, when a Celestial dies, it's just reborn in another part of the universe and has to kind of find itself and then go back to where it was to defeat. It's kind of like, in a video game, you get killed and then they respawn somewhere else and then come after you or whatever. But I don't know if any of these are true. I hope I'm close. I'll probably be doing a spoiler-filled review of Infinity War after I see it, maybe within the week after I see it, which is next weekend. So within that week after next weekend, not this weekend, but yeah, I think I'll do a spoiler-filled review, and I'll touch back on these points that I've just made for Infinity War of my predictions and see which ones were true, which ones were wrong, or which ones were kind of true, or if I was on the right track, or like how close I was to understanding what Infinity War was going to be. Now, the last thing I want to leave you guys with, I know this is a really long video. Thank you for sticking through this whole video. I don't have very many people to talk to directly about this because a lot of them have already seen the movie, so I can't just discuss my ideas. So I'm going to give you guys one last thing. If you made it this far in the video, you get a little present. I'm going to do some things about Avengers Dark Fantasy. So first of all, our show, Avengers Dark Fantasy, which may or may not come out next January, we're kind of rearranging how we're setting up SciFreaKs. Instead of a lot of shows, there are more movie-like things than shows, which I think is going to kind of work in the long run. But it's not going to be called Avengers Dark Fantasy anymore. The Dark Fantasy storyline may tie into that and will be connected throughout different parts, which we'll get to in a minute, but the actual name is now Avengers Last Alliance. And what it's going to follow is we're going to follow both the Avengers and other teams with they know the threat of Thanos is coming, so it's basically their fortifications for preparing for this. Now I can't go into too much detail because I don't have too many details because I have to see Infinity War to make sure that these fortifications are done, and it leads into Infinity War. Even though it's coming out within the years to come, it's going to lead up to Infinity War, kind of like SciFreaKs itself and everything lead up to Infinity War and Force Awakens, which happened kind of simultaneously, at least in the SciFreaKs universe. On top of that, the Avengers, one of their main fortifications, or one of the main things they do, is they create more allies, and that's all Vision and Doctor Strange who kind of do that. Doctor Strange and Vision are going to show up in SciFreaKs a lot more than any of the other Avengers because they know. I'm making them actually know each other. Probably in the movie they won't seem to recognize each other, but in SciFreaKs they're going to kind of make it where they're secretly friends. They run into each other and they're both Infinity Stone wielders, so they kind of sit down and kind of stay off to the side or whatever, secretly just talking and that. But Doctor Strange, because he has sling rings, we know that sling rings can go through some dimensions, and he has all these mystical things. He could probably travel to different realms, meaning that he can run into our characters from SciFreaKs and things like that and kind of play into some of those stories. We're not going to give them too big of stories just because we don't want them to kind of, like we don't want to undo the Avengers Infinity War, and we want to kind of keep this its own special thing. But we will be building, or like connecting these characters. Because of that, those two, along with Norrin Rad, which, if you don't know that name, that's Silver Surfer. Now, I know he's a Fox character, but we're actually bringing Fox into SciFreaKs anyway. And he's going to actually be part of one of the realms that Strange visits. So Norrin Rad, Vision, and Doctor Strange become kind of tied together as a team almost, and they start the initiative of the Guardians of Infinity, and the idea is these Guardians of Infinity are going to go around connecting Infinity Stones and slightly less powerful Cosmic Stones. Cosmic Stones are built or they're created to have abilities and strength and things like that, and I think that the biggest thing that's kind of tied to that is, because like what the Guardians of Infinity are in the comics is that it's like the Guardians of the Galaxy, but kind of in the future, and they're all taken from different points in time, and they're almost time travelers. You have some of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but other characters, like I believe Drax is on the team, and so is Rocket, but I don't think Star-Lord is part of it at certain points, but there are different versions of it, different versions of the team from different time periods. So you get characters like Karnak in one time, but then you have other characters from the distant future, like Major Victory and stuff. So we're actually going to introduce a lot of characters like that or tie them together. We do have Karnak from the Inhumans TV show. As bad as a lot of people say it was, and that I do think that the Inhumans TV show does set up the Inhumans, and because they're probably not going to do anything else with the Inhumans, at least right now, because they kind of screwed that up, I can take free reign with that, and it won't conflict. Now, if there's ever a confliction, you bet we will fill in plot holes between Marvel and that. So we'll be able to create, like, say we have a character that's alive, like say Vision's alive before Infinity War, but we find out Vision's already dead or something. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen, but just as an example, we'll actually bring Vision back to Infinity War, or to the thing, and say maybe he's taken from a different time period thanks to the Time Stone. And we're actually kind of doing that with this. So if you've gotten this far, you're going to get a small spoiler for Avengers Last Alliance, and congratulations, you've made it almost 40 minutes into this video, which is a long video, and I've been talking straight for 40 minutes. I'm actually hungry and I want lunch, but I'm going to give you some just last few things. So first of all, the ship, the show of Avengers Last Alliance is actually going to follow the Guardians of Infinity and the Avengers. So we'll watch the construction of the Guardians of Infinity, which will have the original Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's they're from the future, and we'll learn about Major Victory and how his timeline exists. And so these create the core team, and then the core team creates a satellite team, which was created in the future but brought back in time. Now, in this team, we will have some characters that I'm not going to give you images yet, but we will be announcing them soon. You have Captain Iron, who is the captain of this satellite part of the team. This section of the team doesn't have a name yet, but the idea is this section of the team is the more gritty. They're more like, almost like bounty hunter mercenaries, looking for the stones. These are the ones actively working. You have Major Victory in that, who are kind of helping stop, the attacks of Thanos. And we know Thanos is going to start attacking, and Thanos is actually going to enlist another team too. We're actually going to have the Squadron Supreme, which I doubt Marvel will put in the cinematic universe at least anytime soon. And I can, again, take them out of time. We know that they're from a distant future, which is kind of a reference to the possibility that they could show up in the MCU. But they were brought back in time thanks to Thanos. We don't know how. Somehow they were sent back in time in the future, and then Thanos enlists them to try to get some of the Cosmic Stones, not the Infinity Stones. Thanos uses the Cosmic Stones to pay off certain cosmic beings to let him do what he does, and then they'll complete it. And actually, we're going to find out that one of the main villains of SciFreaKs actually is the one asking for the Cosmic Stones that Thanos is paying off. And Thanos has made an odd alliance with this character, but I'm not going to reveal that character now. But anyways, the team is going to be made up of kind of more mercenary-like characters. So you have Captain Iron. So imagine him kind of like Captain America if he had an Iron Man suit. And he does throw a shield, but the shield is not vibranium. It's made out of cortosis, which in Star Wars is a lightsaber-proof material, and we'll actually see that play out in the show, and that because these characters live in the galaxy, which is another change that I want to bring up. Is in Star Wars, we don't know the name of the galaxy, but in Guardians of the Galaxy, where Guardians of the Galaxy mainly takes place is the Andromeda Galaxy. That's where the Nova Corps and that are. And I'm actually making that Star Wars Galaxy. They kind of look the same anyways, and we could just say, okay, the Guardians of the Galaxy empires are kind of in a corner pocket in the outer rim of the Star Wars Galaxy. So we're going to kind of merge those together, allowing us to have, Nova Corps officers in the background of a Star Wars film, and have Star Wars aliens in the background of the Avengers Last Alliance or other things like that. Marvel-based stories. But Captain Iron is actually half Mandalorian. I'm not going to tell you what his other half is, because you actually, that's a big reveal. It's actually a huge spoiler. But he's a Mandalorian, and he wears Iron Man armor with Captain America's shield made out of cortosis, which is pretty effective. Not as effective as Cap's, but he does know a lot of the tricks to throw it. And then he also uses the repulsors on the suit, so he kind of uses both the shield and the suit together to be pretty powerful. So he's the captain of this satellite team. Now, I will bring up, before I go to the next characters, this ship that they're in is called the coelacanth, which is named after an ancient fish that was once thought to be extinct until several years ago. It was rediscovered as being alive. There are 2 species. It is a highly endangered species, but not extinct as they once thought, and they are considered some of the oldest fish. These things are prehistoric fish, probably older than a lot of other fish that exist in the world. So, the coelacanth is their ship. The coelacanth is kind of looks like a yacht mixed with Jabba's sail barge, and not like a boat yacht, like a Star Wars yacht. It's very roomy inside. It's a little bigger than the Millennium Falcon. It's about the size of the ship in the Lightning that the main characters of SciFreaKs will be on. It is absolutely massive. I've actually been building it in physical Legos, and this thing is huge. Like, the Lego model is bigger than my head. I mean, this thing is huge. And so it kind of works as a yacht. It's actually a modified yacht. It has a dimensional drive, which allows them to travel through time and into other dimensions and other unitary realms, like the cosmic realm. So now, with that ship being said, it does look kind of like a pirate ship, and they are kind of like pirates, but with a good cause in mind. They're getting the cosmic stones out of the way so that Thanos can't get all these stones and the Infinity Stones and the cosmic stones and all that. Anyway, so the captain is Captain Iron, and then they have a protocol droid-like character named Mainframe. Now, Mainframe was actually originally created by Vision to be an AI to oversee the New Suit Project. The New Suit Project, or the Rebirth Protocol, or Project Rebirth, is where Vision rebuilds all of Stark's old suits, like that he destroyed in the Iron Man 3, but also builds suits beyond 50, because we know Iron Man's probably going to go up to 50. These are suits way beyond 50, which means that there are hundreds of suits that could be controlled by Mainframe, who's the main AI, and these suits become almost like other characters that just kind of walk around and work on things, all connected to Mainframe. Now, Mainframe has 3 different forms. He has a more Iron Man-looking form, like the Iron Man from the MCU form. We have a gray one, which also looks like Iron Man, except they don't have the helmet exactly. It looks more like a normal head with kind of plating to look painted like the thing. But these guys work kind of like protocol droids. So Mainframe is not very fast, but there are 3 models that are all connected to each other, and then connected to the suits as well. But the 3rd version is based off of the original traditional design of Iron Man, except that it also has just a normal head with plating to look like the face. And he looks more like a protocol droid than any of them, and acts more like a protocol droid, even though they're all the same character. He's also the one that he runs out of signal, because he's often in another galaxy. He runs out of signal. The other 2 are with Vision on Earth, but this one is off in another galaxy, far, far away, the Star Wars galaxy. Kind of becoming, they're basically like, protocol droids. He's basically effectively a protocol droid on this team. So that's Mainframe. And then also we have another character, which is a white Spider-Man, or Future Spider. And the idea is he's part of a future where the Future Foundation exists. And he's the Spider-Man that was part of the Future Foundation, but he was thrown back in time when the Future Foundation was attacked by Galactus. And they were unable to save the Foundation. And because of this, when they were attacked by Galactus, both Norrin Rad and the Spider-Man were sent back in time to a specific point where they met up with the this team that they're on now. And then, so the thing is Norrin Rad is not part of the team. He's off doing other things, and we're actually going to have an entire episode dedicated to what Silver Surfer is doing. We see him briefly at the beginning, and then he disappears. So Silver Surfer is going to come back, and we'll see what he does. Meanwhile, the next character we have is Vivian Vision. Now, in the comics, Vivian Vision is the daughter of Vision himself and like the female version of Vision. I don't remember her name. And Vivian is their daughter, kind of synthezoid created daughter. And we're kind of gonna go off of that, where Vivian Vision is from a future where her father and mother survive, her mother being Scarlet Witch. She's from a future where they survive, but the entire world is run by Thanos. The universe is run by Thanos. So she's sent back in time to back to this team, just like the future Spider was. And then we have Uni-Hulk, which is basically like Hulk, but he's blue. And he has cosmic power. He's actually cosmically aligned. He's impossible to kill, like literally impossible to kill. He is an amazing character and fun to write because he's kind of like, what if Hulk became like really intelligent, like we see with Bruce Banner. He basically is the scientist and main inventor of the team, but he also creates the he creates the tech, but he also oversees the ship, repairs it, and he's the mechanic in that. And he usually sleeps in the cargo bay. But he's much more intelligent than Hulk and speaks in complete sentences, except he talks like this. He sounds almost like Thanos, but he kind of talks like this, and he's very intelligent, but he hates everybody. He actually does hate everybody. Uni-Hulk is completely against the idea of this, and he's just grumpy because he knows he knew Thanos for a while and is grumpy that he has to deal with Thanos again. He's like, why can't we just leave him be? He's not bothering me. But he kind of goes along for whatever reason. We actually will find out why he's with them. So that's the main team that we're introduced to. But we're going to add 2 new members. So if you've gotten this far in the video, you're almost 50 minutes into the video, and I'm planning to try to wrap this up within an hour-long video. But if you've gotten this far, I'm going to give you some more spoilers to Avengers Last Alliance regarding things. So, as I said previously, with the Infinity War prediction, I thought they were going to bring Ultron back. Regardless, I'm going to bring Ultron back in a specific way. So no matter how he shows up in the MCU, there is a way that I can fit it in. And this is when we see Vision kind of destroy Ultron, quote unquote, at the end of Age of Ultron after their really beautiful scene. And you can actually see on my channel a preliminary version of that scene animated with no textures or anything. And then we see what happens to Ultron after. He wakes up in the cosmic realm, and it turns out that Ultron split. His spirit has split into different versions of Ultron, and there are hundreds of them across the universe, all kind of cosmically sentient. Now, what I mean by cosmic sentience isn't that they're cosmic entities, but they're more powerful than mortals, and maybe even sometimes more powerful than celestials. They are still killable, unless, of course, Hulk, who is like Hulk who can't die, mixed with cosmic energy, which makes him definitely not able to die. But Ultron becomes split, and there are different versions. There's Cosmic Ultron, which is the main Ultron that actually teams up with the Avengers, and he actually connects to a different part of the Guardians of Infinity. He's connected more with a separate... He's actually working with Norrin Rad for a bit, and then separates with him and becomes a loner. But there are hundreds of other versions of Ultron. There's an Ultron that actually inhabits an old discarded shell of General Grievous's, he's called the General Shell. And that Ultron kind of becomes pretty badass because he's in a Grievous, but he's missing things, and he has a tattered red cape, and he looks really cool. I'm excited to make that a character. But on top of that, you have another version of Ultron known as Ultron 1. Now, Ultron 1 is based off of the part of the personality of Ultron in Age of Ultron that was the original AI built in the Iron Legion, which will make an appearance as well, but that's another story. And this version of Ultron, Ultron 1, is the original kind of beta version of Ultron that Stark and Banner created. Now in the comics, it's Pym and Stark who create Ultron. But you know that kind of changes. But what we are going to do is Ultron 1 actually will have a design very similar to, imagine if you mixed R2-D2 with the original Ultron. Now if you don't know what it looks like, you should definitely check it out. The original Ultron, you could just look up Ultron original form, and you should be able to see this kind of giant cylindrical thing. And there's a classic scene where he's like calling Pym daddy, and it's really creepy. So we're going to kind of go off of that, but we're going to kind of merge him and make him a little smaller, more like R2-D2. But he has a voice, and he's basically the main utility droid, so to speak, of the team. But he doesn't show up until a little later. He actually shows up in the first episode, but doesn't join the team until maybe an episode or two later. If we do episodes. If we don't do episodes, I don't know what we're going to do, but for now we're planning episodes and making it a show. Now, the last part of that you guys need to know is that there's a final member of this satellite version of the Guardians of Infinity. Now, again, I haven't named this satellite group, but trust me, when the show comes out, this satellite group will exist. You have one last little character, and this character is taken from a need because SciFreaKs actually will lead up to Thor Ragnarok. So the events of Thor Ragnarok have not happened yet. Why? Because we want Hela still alive. Spoiler alert. We want Hela still alive. I mean, technically she could be still alive anyway. But we also want any other deaths that happened in Thor Ragnarok to exist, or to not exist yet. Including, again, spoiler alert, Odin, who is actually going to still be alive as of SciFreaKs. Now, when Odin dies, that's a long story, because we're going to see the Pre-Vengers, which are basically, they're based off of the comic series Avengers BC. That's like 10,000 or 10 billion years BC or whatever, and it's like cavemen versions of the Avengers. But we know that Odin took the place of Thor in that, so we're actually pretty much going off of that, but changing it. Agamotto, who's now a cosmic entity, all of these members have become cosmic beings, higher than cosmic sentience. They've actually become cosmic entities. So when they die, or their mortal form dies, they just reform in another part of the galaxy, just like a celestial. And so we'll see Odin with that. And so in the show, we'll actually see Agamotto meet Odin right after Odin realizes who he is. He meets up with Agamotto and the rest of his team, and they go deal with their own little story, which is actually going to be a really nice little story. It's a little pocket story that'll play into the bigger picture, but it's going to be a really beautifully done story, and I'm not actually writing it. I actually have some of our members who wanted to write it really bad are going to be able to go off and write it. And, obviously I'll be consulting until I'm the director, but they're the writers for it. So I'm really excited for them to come up with that story. Now, back to this satellite version of the Guardians of Infinity. There's one more member, lost in time, who comes back. Now, I brought up Thor Ragnarok for a reason. Thor changes his look in Thor Ragnarok and becomes a much different type of Thor. At the beginning, we see Thor tangled up in that, and he's in his original costume. Well, that's how Thor's going to show up, because Thor Ragnarok begins after SciFreaKs. Same with Spider-Man Homecoming is the last movie that goes up to Infinity War, except for Black Panther. Or that goes up to SciFreaKs, because Black Panther will be taking place, because SciFreaKs, technically we're going to stretch time here a little bit, but SciFreaKs is going to take place between Civil War and Thor Ragnarok. So because Civil War only 2 weeks later is Black Panther, we'll be able to fit things in. And we know that the timeline is completely fucked up right now. So we're going to, pardon my language, we're going to actually set up, we can go with that and kind of fit things in however we want, stretch time here, shorten it there. That originally it was going to be between Avengers and Avengers Infinity War. And then it was going to be between Avengers Age of Ultron and Avengers Infinity War. And then I'm like, you know what? Civil War is the most modern, where we have almost all the characters that we're seeing in Infinity War. So we're going to set it up that way. You'll also see, we'll actually see, yeah, I just hit myself on a cabinet. Anyways, we'll see, we're going to see the time leading up to Thor Ragnarok, which means Thor is going to be the way Thor is at the beginning of Thor Ragnarok, and at the end of Age of Ultron. Thor's going to be off searching for the stones almost all of SciFreaKs, including Last Alliance, but he'll run into the Guardians of Infinity, which will set up a joke we have from Infinity War, but that's another story. But as that Thor is going on, another Thor in a not too distant future during Infinity War watches Thanos win and kill every Avenger, almost killing him, except he somehow stumbles backwards into a time vortex, or he kind of starts running away, and he runs away and hides, and then he stumbles into a time vortex. By running away, he's, running away. That's what happens when you run away. You run away. But when he stumbles through this time vortex, he gets brought back to the present, which is before Thor Ragnarok even happened. So we have a future version of Thor, and he's nicknamed Future Thor. And he is on... he's on the ship. So the reason we did this is because we wanted the Thor Ragnarok / Infinity War version of Thor, who his armor looks really cool. Just the way he uses his powers is much different than Thor originally did with his hammer. And so I think that Thor is it's good to have two different Thors. The one that's kind of off, who will intersect, or that, and never will the two Thors meet. But there will be some scenes where you're afraid they're going to meet, and then it's going to be like, oh god. And we might eventually make them meet, to be honest, just to screw with everyone. So we have Future Thor, who also becomes part of the satellite members. Anyways, that's all my thoughts about Infinity War, a little Avengers 4, my soundtrack review, and what I think of... and what we're planning for Avengers Last Alliance. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I've actually been enjoying just talking with you guys for the past hour or so. I am trying to draw out this closing for 3 more minutes so that I can make it exactly an hour long. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm sorry if there's no background or whatever the background might be. I hope you guys don't mind. I hope it's good. I personally am definitely really excited to see Infinity War. I'm actually going to be seeing it with my mom. Shoutouts to my mom, amazing person. She's actually been helping on SciFreaKs a lot, and she's probably one of my biggest supporters. We have had a lot of problems with certain members in the group, some that aren't part of the group anymore, some that are, but a little less or whatever, and she's been there by me, giving me advice to make sure I don't make a huge mistake and make an ass out of myself. And she's been my biggest cheerleader, and she's amazing. She's been encouraging me to go to college. I've been having a rough semester in college, and she's really helped me through that. So, shoutouts to my mom. I love her so much. She's at work right now, which gives me time to make these videos more. She lets me use her personal computer for rendering because mine crashes, which corrupts the rendering. So she lets me use hers almost every day. And it's because of her that SciFreaKs is still going. She's encouraged me to keep going. And because of that, now we're able to get to this really amazing thing. I will say just one last thing. I am planning some reviews and some other videos separate from my normal fare, kind of like today's was. Because I wanted to try some new things for the channel. and see what's going on. So I hope you guys like it. Let me know. And hopefully you guys join our contests. We haven't had any entries. If you're curious about how to do entries, just submit it. It's fine. Just give us a link in the description or in the comments. That's fine. But anyways, until next time, nerds unite!